Hello, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're well. I hope you've had a good week. As you know, it's Friday and I didn't plan on bringing videos out every week on a certain day, but this is where we're at. I think Friday might be the day that I might just set off for bringing out my videos, but don't hold me to that because I don't like to be kept to a schedule. So anyway, I'm waffling on as usual. I hope you watched my last video, and because it's part 1, this is the follow-on, part 2. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it, and well, I'm going to stop waffling and let's just get on with the damn video, shall we? So, what do we love more than being on dark, spooky places on a misty evening? Haunted locations. So let's delve into some of the places known for being more than just fabulous places to visit. You'd be right in thinking that Cornwall is a beautiful place with its beaches and countryside, just like Bodmin Moor. But I'm going to start off with Bodmin Jail. I've been here and it's a creepy but real place. Mind you, when I went it was just that, a jail. Now it's been made into a hotel, somewhere I definitely need to go and spend the night. I must ask my husband. Anyway, built in 1779, Bodmin Jail is a former historic prison. It closed in 1927 due to a large range of buildings falling into ruins, but parts were turned into a tourist attraction. More recently, a larger part being turned into a hotel. It was originally built by prisoners of war and used for 150 years. It also had over 50 public hangars here. It was the first British prison to hold prisoners in individual cells. Since it closed in 1927, there has been no prison of the county of Cornwall. In 2018, a husband and wife took video footage of what appeared to be the ghost of William Hampton, who was a prisoner who was hung here. Now, if you're from the UK, you might be familiar with the programme Most Haunted. So in the Most Haunted episode, the crew went to Bodmin Jail and they attempted to get some activity. Medium Derek Akora claimed to have been possessed by an African spirit named Creed Kafer, but it was later discovered that parapsychologist Kieran O'Keefe created Creed Kafer to test Derek's abilities. In actual fact, the name Creed Kafer was an anagram of Derek Faker. Now that gives you something to think about. Although in 2021, the paranormal manager of Bodmin Jail caught an agitated woman on a CCTV, and she's been seen around the jail on many occasions. When I went with my husband and the kids, my son was a toddler in a pushchair, and he pointed continually into one cell saying, "Look." We could see nothing, but he clearly could. Then, as we were wandering around, my husband got a sudden bad headache, and we had to leave because he felt really unwell, which was really odd because he'd been fine before, and he was fine again when we were outside the building. Bodmin Jail is now a hotel, also operates as a museum, gift shop and hosts guided tours, so I suggest you get yourself down there if you can. Now, staying in Cornwall, let's look into Jamaica Inn, situated in Bodmin Moor. The Coaching Inn was built in 1750 and it's steeped in history, mostly to do with pirates and smuggling. It was extended in 1778 with a coach house, stables and a tack room, all in an L-shaped design. It's often thought that the inn takes its name from the smugglers who smuggled rum into the country from Jamaica. The inn now contains a museum of smuggling, where a plaque on the walls outside says it presents a record of classical examples in the arts of concealment and invasion. The museum's main focus is a collection of smuggling artefacts through the history of the inn's role in the trade for many years. The Cornish coast was well known for smuggling silks, tea, tobacco and brandy into England. There are spirits of all kinds at the inn. Managers have heard conversations in foreign muttered, some saying the language could be Old Cornish. Horses' hooves and carriages can be heard on the courtyard at night, but nothing can be seen. Footsteps are often heard in the corridors at night when nobody is around, and there is a man in a hat and cloak that appears and wanders through solid doors. This brings me to my own experience here, at the same time and in actual fact the same day that we went to Bodmin Jail. We decided to have lunch at Jamaica Inn. We parked the car, walked to the entrance and waited to be seated. While we stood, there was a man in old-fashioned clothing and hat stood by the wall. He spoke to us, smiling, and he said hello. We said hello back, and then the door opened behind us as more people were coming in, so we glanced over to the door. When we looked back, the man was gone. He hadn't walked past us into the restaurant and not out the door either. So where did he go? To this day, we cannot explain that. Was he a ghost? Was he something that both my husband and I will never forget? We don't know. Why don't you go there yourself and see if you can see or hear anything odd? Now to Essex and Borley Rectory. This was the house most famous for being the most haunted house in England. Built in 1862, it was housed the rector of Borley and his family. The house was badly fire damaged in 1939 and demolished in 1944. The first paranormal events at Borley Rectory occurred around 1863, where unexplained footsteps were heard. Around 1900, 4 of the Reverend's daughters saw what they thought was the ghost of a nun at the twilight, very close to the house. When they tried to talk to her, she disappeared the closer that they got. The Ball family were convinced they saw apparitions on several occasions. Reverend Ball died in 1927, and Borley Rectory became vacant. In October the following year, Reverend Smith and his wife moved in. Soon after moving in, Smith's wife was cleaning out a cupboard and came across a brown paper package that turned out to be containing the skull of a young woman. Soon after this, the Smith family reported various incidents in the house. Those of servants' bells ringing, even though they were disconnected, lights in windows and footsteps. Smith's wife also claimed that she saw a horse-drawn carriage at night. The Smiths contacted a newspaper asking to be put in touch with the Society for Psychic Research. The paper also arranged for a paranormal researcher, Harry Price, to be sent to the house. The Gothic-style house was reportedly haunted since it was built, and in 1929, Harry Price claimed paranormal activity at the house, such as throwing of stones, vases and other objects. The Smiths left Borley Rectory on July the 14th, 1929, leaving the parish in some difficulty in finding a replacement. Later years, other families that lived there experienced some things and more things, much alike the former, throwing stones, bell ringing, writing on walls, footsteps seen by unseen feet. There's also some poltergeist activity of a daughter locked in a room with no key, and a wife being thrown from her bed. Don't let this put you off. Do visit though, if you're nearby. Now, since Borley Rectory burnt down, it's possibly taken over as the most haunted house by 30 East Drive in West Yorkshire. Loads of people on TV paranormal shows and YouTubers have done investigations here. So what do we know about the house? It's an ordinary looking semi-detached house on an ordinary street, but there has been lots of reports of paranormal activity here, including a poltergeist. The house was lived in by a family called the Pritchards. It all started when the family experienced dust falling from the ceiling. Then after that, many other things happened. Water appeared on the kitchen floor, which could not be cleaned up. The family got the council to look, and they proceeded to take the kitchen floor up, and the cause was not found, much to the confusion of the council. One occasion, the huge grandfather clock toppled and fell down the stairs, and another time the young daughter was dragged up the stairs by an invisible force. It's said to be haunted by the spirit of a monk from the 16th century, known as Father Michael, or Fred as he was nicknamed by the family. The monk is said to have murdered a young girl, and he was hung on the gallows, which is the land where the estate was built on. And he was thrown down a well that was said to be directly beneath number 30. However, old maps show a well about 300 metres away from the house. So whatever you believe, you can go and visit this house yourself if you like. Many ghost hunting groups do visits there, so do go and check them out. You never know what you might find. Mincent Chapel is a ruins now in the fields above the hamlet of Chapelfoot near Preston, Hertfordshire. Today it's partly surrounded by woodland and only accessible by footpath. It's a Grade 2 listed building. The chapel was built in the 14th century and by the 17th century had fallen into disrepair. although marriages continued here until the crumbling masonry became too dangerous. In the 20th century, the chapel was associated with the historian Reginald Hine from nearby Baldock. He frequently visited here and obtained a lifetime lease of the building from the Vicars of Hitchin. When he died, his ashes were scattered at the chapel and his family erected a memorial stone at the site, which was relaid in its current grave-like horizontal position by them after vandals damaged it in the early 1980s. In 1907, Thomas Latchmore, a local photographer and a friend of Hine, took a photo of what showed a monk at the chapel, and rumours of the paranormal activity appeared. The haunting mostly being that of a single monk climbing stairs that no longer exist to the north-east area of the chapel. It's said that this happens regularly at Halloween at the stroke of midnight. Other reported sightings include a glowing cross on the wall and the sound of distant music, or the ringing of the Stollen bells. Legends also say that a lost tunnel built during the time of the Crusades that extended to nearby Temple Dinsley and another of a murdered nun. The iconic arch of Minston Chapel finally fell in 2008 due to erosion over time from the elements, and by 2012 most of the north-facing wall had also disappeared. Work to repair Minston Chapel by Historic England started in 2022 with the intention of conserving the overall structure of the site. If you're ever in the area around Halloween, why don't you go and pay it a visit? I might. Now, Bradley Woods in Lincolnshire is said to have a ghost with a black lady. She reportedly haunts the woods near the village of Bradley. During the War of the Roses, a young woodsman and his wife lived with their baby son in a cottage in Bradley Woods. Eventually, the woodsman had to leave his family and go fight in the war, and this left the wife to bring up the baby alone. Many months went by with no news of her husband, and every day she took her child and walked to the edge of the woods, waiting for a sight of him. One day, the enemy army crossed the Humber Bridge and marched through the area on the way to attack Lincoln. After leaving her cottage, the woman was set upon by 3 horsemen who brutally raped her before snatching her baby and riding off into the woods, laughing. Heartbroken, she wandered the woods in vain for her child and her husband. Then after the death of her, people continued to see her walking around the woods, never ending her search for her family. She's apparently described as being young and pretty, around 5'6" tall, and dressed in a flowing black cloak and hood, which obscures her hair, but it reveals her pale, tear-soaked face. The story is known to have been told to many children over the generations, and parents are once known to have warned their children that if they weren't in bed by that at a certain time, then their black lady will get you. So, if you happen to be near the woods, look out for this poor, sad soul wandering around looking for a family. Now we go to Enfield, London, 284 Green Street to be exact. This house is an ordinary council house in London, or so you'd think. Not so though. This house is well known for the poltergeist activity and the Enfield poltergeist. Now, between 1977 and 1979, sisters Janet and Margaret Hodgson were the main event in the house. The activity began centred around them. In August 1977, their mother Peggy Hodgson called the police to her rented home at 284 Green Street, Enfield. She claimed to have witnessed furniture moving, and 2 of her 4 children heard knocking on the walls. The children, Janet and Margaret, said they saw a chair wobble and slide, but by an invisible force. Later, claims of disembodied voices, loud noises, thrown toys, overturned chairs were made. The weirdest one, though, was the children levitating. Over a period of 18 months, over 30 people claimed to have seen heavy furniture moving on its own, objects being thrown and seeing sisters levitating off the ground by several feet. Many heard knocking and a gruff voice. These people included the police, the Hodgson neighbours, paranormal investigators and journalists. The Society for Psychic Research reported curious whistling and barking noises all coming from Janet's direction. Although later one member, Guy Playfair, said it was genuine and wrote about it in his book, This House is Haunted, The True Story of a Poltergeist. Even though some believe the poltergeist activity was faked by the girls, other incidents were believed to be genuine. Other paranormal investigators who visited the house, including demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren, they were convinced that the events had a paranormal explanation, and when they visited in 1978. Today, the family that live in the house say they have to turn away many ghost hunters almost every day asking to look inside. She also said she didn't feel anything inside the house, and she didn't believe in ghosts as she was a Christian woman. Now, that would be annoying if you lived there now and was getting knocks on the door at all hours from ghost hunters. Imagine living there and having that. That would be torture in itself. Now, next time, I'm looking into other haunted locations and hauntings. But don't have nightmares, and I'll see you very soon. Well then, what do you reckon? Did you enjoy it? Please let me know in the comments. I really hope you're kind of enjoying the style of these videos, because I'm trying my really best to get better at making my videos. I'm trying my best to get better at editing, and I'm trying to learn my new program more and different ways of doing things and stuff like that. It's all a learning curve to me, obviously, still. It's never an easy task learning something new, but hopefully you're enjoying them. Do let me know, because I really like to hear your comments about what you think about how I'm doing and stuff like that. As you know, it's Friday. Friday is Funday Friday, so this is fun today. And I hope you have a fun weekend. And I'll speak to you again next week. In the meantime, take care of yourselves. I'll speak to you soon. Ta-da!